20 westbound in Kent between junction 12 and junction 11 is closed as a vehicle fire has occurred. 3 out of 4 lanes are closed on the M6 southbound between junction 21A and junction 21 due to a collision. This is resulting in delays of 50 minutes. The M4 eastbound between junction 19 and junction 20 in South Gloucestershire is experiencing congestion with approximately 10-minute delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have...
And debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly-past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs Co. It's a big day for the country today. It is election day, so if you haven't already, remember to grab your ID and go out and vote. But do wait until my show, there obviously. But because it's election day, that means politics is off the menu for us tonight. But don't worry about that. There's loads of other stuff that we can talk about, starting with a dollop of common sense. The FA have finally banned biological men from women's football. Good. But one prominent trans person has described what's happening as trans apartheid. Dear me. And do you remember the band Kneecap, who seemed to think it was a good idea to suggest that people might want to go and murder an MP? Well, now counter-terrorism police are investigating them. Right move or not? And speaking of the police, the officer who shot the criminal Chris Cabba and was cleared by a court is now facing disciplinary proceedings. Your thoughts on that? And something that you could have predicted a mile off. Residents living next door to the UK's first ever drug consumption room have spoken out about their despair given the negative impact they feel it's had on the area. So, simple question for you: would you want one of these rooms next to your house? Keeping me company tonight till 7 o'clock, Kelvin Mackenzie, the editor, former editor at The Sun, and JJ Anisinobi, the broadcaster and journalist. But before we get stuck in, let's cross live and give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Our top stories. The English and Scottish FAs are banning transgender women from playing women's football from June the 1st. It follows last month's ruling in the Supreme Court that found the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex. Downing Street says it will support governing bodies to protect the integrity, safety and fairness of sport. English netball has changed its guidelines, and English cricket is set to join football in the move. Donald Trump's national security advisor Mike Waltz is understood to have left his post in the White House. Waltz is the first high-profile official to leave the administration since Trump took office in January. He's been under pressure since it was revealed he inadvertently added a journalist to a signal group in which sensitive military strikes in Yemen were shared. Waltz said he took full responsibility for the leak. Now, Donald Trump's been speaking at the White House in the last hour or so. No mention of Waltz, but other key administration figures who were on that leak group chat, including the Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, were in attendance. Meanwhile, the White House says the minerals deal signed last night with Ukraine will help secure a free, peaceful and sovereign future for Ukrainians. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said it will give the US 50% of royalties, licence fees and other similar payments from natural resources in Ukraine. Now, the deal talks about a durable partnership but provides no security guarantees, and there's no mention of Ukraine paying back its military aid debts to the US. Harrods has been hit by a cyber attack just days after Marks & Spencer and Co-op were targeted. The luxury department store in London is understood to have been forced to shut down some systems to fend off attempts to gain unauthorised access. Well, Harrods says its website and all stores are continuing to operate, but it does follow similar incidents in recent days involving other retailers linked to the hacking collective Scattered Spider. And counter-terrorist officers at the Met Police have opened an investigation into the Irish rapper's Kneecap. They've had several concerts cancelled after footage emerged that appears to show band members calling for the death of MPs. Another video appears to show a member shouting, "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." Both groups are banned in the UK. It's a crime to express support for them. Well, Kneecap, in a statement, earlier this week rejected any suggestion that they would seek to incite violence against MPs, saying the videos have been taken out of context. And a number of artists, including Fontaine's DC, Massive Attack, Pulp and Paul Weller, have signed a joint statement of support for Kneecap. Finally, the record for the UK's warmest start to May has been broken. 28 degrees was recorded at Kew Gardens in London earlier. However, a provisional temperature of 29.1 degrees has been recorded in Surrey. That has yet to be confirmed. The previous record was 27.4 in Scotland back in 1990, also on May the 1st. The Met Office says also the UK has experienced the sunniest April since records began in 1910. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 7 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much for that, and hello to each and every one of you. I am Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs Co, and we're with you until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel, Kelvin Mackenzie, the former editor of The Sun, and a returning face. We've not seen you for a while, JJ Anisinobi, the broadcaster and journalist. Welcome back to you. You know the drill, don't you? It's not just about us three, it is about you guys at home as well. What's on your mind tonight? Get in touch, join the conversation all the usual ways. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. Now, as I just mentioned, to those that were paying attention at the start, it is, of course, election day in some parts tonight. That means that politics is off the menu for us tonight. But don't you worry about that, ladies and gents, because there's a lot more that we can discuss. We've got a packed show for you. I wanted to start, I always like this topic, as you know. I feel actually quite delighted today, ladies and gents, because I feel like we're on a little bit of a roll. I feel that, I don't want to speak too soon, but I do feel like common sense is finally prevailing. Of course, I'm referencing the fact that the FA has announced that now biological males will not be able to play in women's football from June the 1st this year. Obviously, you know my views. I think this is fantastic. I don't even know what they were doing there in the first place. Anyway, not everybody agrees. Prominent trans person India Willoughby speaking out. Let's take a listen.
Wow. Just heard the news that trans people are now banned from football. This is crazy, absolutely insane. Trans people haven't done anything, yet we're being stigmatized and demonized in such a horrible way. This is full-blown trans apartheid. And it's all down to 6 years of incessant fear-mongering and scaremongering by the UK media, politicians, the religious right. It's so unfair. How is a trans person now supposed to lead a normal life, either in the workplace or socially?
I mean, what does one even begin to say in response to that trans apartheid? I mean, give me strength, ladies and gents. And for the record, no one is banned from playing sport. No one has had their legs chopped off, meaning that they're now no longer able to kick a football. All that's actually happened is that biological males have been told they can't play in the women's single-sex category. The FA, who I think have been so weak on this, has been absolutely horrendous. They reckon that their goal has always been to make football as inclusive as possible. Its policy, they say, has always been subject to change in response to shifts in law or science. Obviously, I do need to point out that there hasn't been a significant shift in law whatsoever. What's actually been happening now in the Supreme Court is that the law has actually just been clarified. We all knew what it meant anyway. Kelvin Mackenzie, where are you on this?
Well, they've been dragged kicking and screaming to this decision. They clearly didn't wish to make it. And the person I feel most sorry for today is that teenage girl who turned to her somebody that she was playing against and said, "Are you a man?" That was last autumn.
Yeah.
What happened to that girl?
Got banned.
She got banned for 6 matches. Where is the apology? Who decided that? Why did they decide that? Where is the apology to that girl? Where is, I hate to say it, the FA are a rich organisation. Should they make compensation to her? They have... all the trans debate is a political debate, actually. People, whether it happens to be one party or another, I'm not allowed to say this anymore, boy, a ridiculous decision, by the way, the idea you can't talk about politics for 24 hours. Anyway, putting that
Not
to
my
once.
decision, my friends. It's
No,
not
but it is totally preposterous. You can go on YouTube and watch politics all day long, which has a miles bigger audience than any national network. Anyway,
excuse me, just right.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Isn't
Let's
it?
just be clear. We don't want you going on YouTube and watching about politics. We want you here on GB News.
Well, we should change the law.
Watching GB News and Dewbs Co. So pack it in, you. I'll wheel him off this.
Anyway, I can't stay long. I've got a YouTube show.
Anyway, he's on a wheelable chair. I'll wheel him off in a minute.
Anyway,
finish your point.
Anyway, so basically, they don't really believe in this at all. They've been forced to do it. I'd like to meet that lady. I'd like her to come on GB News and talk about how she was humiliated publicly by the FA. I'd like the FA to come on rather than issuing a statement where they didn't mention the girls and the women who have been subjects to having to play against basically men who have tackled them in a manner which put one lady out of the game for the rest of the season. And I'm not saying that couldn't happen under other circumstances, but it definitely happened under this circumstances. There's a lot of reasons why the FA are hopeless, and most of the sports organisations are hopeless. Rugby was ahead of the game. I think hockey was ahead of the game. Cricket have now fallen in now that football has said it. So there are a lot of weak-willed executives of sporting organisations, and they meet their comeuppance today. However, the one lady I feel very sorry for is that lady that was banned, and I'd like a public apology to them right now.
I'm not over the moon about it because I feel that we should never have been in this situation in the first place. There's, according to the FA, there's just under 30, I believe, transgender women registered to play. As India Willoughby incorrectly said, trans people are not banned from sport. No one has said trans people cannot play sport. You can continue to play football, but you must play. If you were born a man, you now play with the men. I play football about 3-4 times a week via an app. You can pick which games you want to play in. There's some games that are just for women, and there's some games that are just for men. Some games of people who are very competitive and half decent at it. Sometimes we play with women who know we're men, and they choose to come and play with us because they think it's better for their game. So the Pakistani women's football team come and play with us. There's a few England women's football team players who come and play with us. I cannot go in full strength as I would do against a man when I'm playing with the women because they're going to get injured. I've seen women footballers playing with men who are getting injured. They're having their legs broken, just a little shoulder barge, and they're flying over and spraining their wrists. They should never be playing with men. unless they actively choose to. And the problem I have with trans women playing in women's football teams is when they go to that match on the Sunday, the opposing female football team, they cannot turn around and say, I don't want to play against that team because there's a man in that team, because then that team automatically has to forfeit the game. So they're punished for standing up and saying, I don't want to risk injury and my life playing against a man. So now, yes, finally, we've got the right result, but it's a tragedy that saying only women should be playing in women's sports, and that's a winner. Like, that should have been basic scientific knowledge.
You know, I'm a little bit suspicious, ladies and gents, as to what it is that's actually driven the FA's decision, because as we've all just said then, they were literally just dragged kicking and screaming. And a part of me wonders, I wonder if it's something to do with the likes of, like, your insurance companies now turning around and saying, do you know what, we insure you, and actually, if there is an issue because a biologically male player has broke the leg or whatever it is of a female within your women-only single-sex category, then guess what? We're not going to pay out. I wonder whether or not there's anything like that at play in the backgrounds. I've got to tell you, this decision, of course, has divided people. The Marching Out Together group, they have sent a statement saying that they send their love to the trans community and that trans people should be able to live their lives fully, feeling safe and supported. But sadly, our society remains a long way from this.
Well, they'd be able to put together 6-5-a-side teams anyway, wouldn't they? So why don't they just start their own? Why don't they start their own leagues?
Well, here's the thing. A mediocre man can say he's a woman and go and play in women's sports and dominate women's sports. The Premier League, the English Premier League, you can have a woman playing in the Premier League. There's no rule saying women can't play in the professional tier in this country. There's no female players in our professional men's tier because there's no female players yet who are good enough to play even in conference level at that level with men. But a man like myself, who doesn't get paid to play football and is over the hill, can still go and play against women who are considered good enough for their country and compete against them and knock them over and injure them. There's no... and Michelle, I think you're right. I think the FA has been told by their lawyers, listen, guys, if anything happens now, it's all on you. And we're not going to... it's going to hit you guys in the pocket. So they've had to act. But it's just ridiculous that it's come to this. For people are now saying... Trans people are being erased. They can't even play sport anymore. No. That's the exact opposite of what we're saying. We're saying you can still play sport. You're just going to have to play sport with people who share the same sex that you were born with, because sport is separated by sex. It's not about your gender and how you identify. It's by what you were born as, and that makes everyone be on an equal footing when it comes to sport.
Yes, indeed. It should be facts and fairness, not feelings. What do you all make to it at home? Get in touch and let me know. There's so much that we need to discuss tonight, ladies and gents, but I've got a simple question for you. Would you want a drug consumption centre at the end of your road? See you in 2.
Today, voters across England go to the polls.
In a series of council elections,
mayoral elections, and one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night.
Live around the country.
As the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m, as it all becomes clearer, we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. tonight.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You two met, I mean, since we last saw each other, then you two have done Strictly. And, but the fact that and there's quite an age gap.
51 years.
51. And yet...
I was granny.
But the fact you clearly get on really well and you've stayed in touch and you've developed a real friendship.
We really do. I mean, we live 5 minutes from each other. We speak most days, and Angela had this amazing campaign with Let's Dance, and obviously I was very, very much supporting that. And when you just get on like a house on fire, we just do. We get each other. We have great banter. And like you said, there's 51 years between us, but we feel like we've known each other for 51 years.
You have a particular interest in getting dance back into schools, don't you? I mean, your own experience of this, because you're Your dad is a professional footballer, and you actually won a place, didn't you, into the Football Academy? It was sort of expected that you were going to be a footballer.
Yes, it was. I was expected to be a football player naturally because I was the eldest son, and you know Southampton wanted to sign me, and they were in the Premier League, and they still are. No, I chose to be a dancer, and it was because my dad and mum sent me to dance classes because I was very hyperactive as a kid. I was pretending to kick a football all the time. They sent me to my next door neighbour's dance school, and the class was called Tango Tots. I somehow ended up being a dancer, and I had to tell my Geordie dad when I was 12 years old that I wanted to be a dancer.
How did that go down?
It went fine. It's not like the film, not like the film, but it's very, 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 very supportive. And obviously, the brother ended up being the football.
But you're very keen to get dance back into schools, aren't you? Tell me why.
I'm so keen because for kids that can't afford it, why not just give them the opportunity to learn to dance? We live in a world today where we're on the phones, we're on TikTok. Kids are learning to dance anyway, so why not regulate it and let them learn it in school for free?
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello there. Thank you for your company tonight. Kelvin McKenzie alongside me, as is JJ Anisonobi. Now, I asked you a question before the break. Would you be willing, because it's all well and good supporting drug consumption rooms, isn't it? And if you don't know what a drug consumption room is, the clue is in the description. It's a place where drug addicts can legally go and be provided with assistance and paraphernalia to use the drugs that they are required. The thinking, of course, will be that actually if you've got them in a safe, controlled environment, you can essentially help them make sure that they're using clean materials and hopefully then try and help them wean themselves off said drugs. But even if you support that concept, would you be willing to have one of those things at the end of your road? Because in Glasgow, where we've got the first one now, residents have been speaking out. Apparently, they're absolutely livid. They reckon that their streets have become a mess. They've got needles discarded left, right and centre, and they say that they've got an influx of crime. JJ, your thoughts?
Well, everyone's a NIMBY, right? Nobody wants to have this in their backyard. Yep. I live in central London on a council estate. I see crackheads and drug addicts walking around in the daytime. I don't particularly see any needles lying around, but you are often going to see drug addicts in the park or lying down an alleyway. My problem with consumption rooms is that I don't feel that they are trying to help people get off drugs. So it's like, come here and do drugs, we'll give you some clean needles, you can have a safe space. If you overdose, we're going to take care of you. But what are they doing to try and get people off the drugs? No,
they would say they do signpost people towards support services. They do try and encourage and support. So they would say that that is one of the key tenets of those rooms.
I don't think it's working. I think if someone's going to your space to do drugs, they're not going there to quit drugs. You can go to a hospital and ask for help. You can go to your chemist and ask for help. If you're a crack addict, then they give you methadone these days to try and wean you off these things. There's an abundance of options for people who want to get off drugs. I don't feel that consumption rooms are what we should be looking for in society and using our taxpayers' money to try and do. We should instead just be setting up homes and places where people who are on drugs can be taken and try and be rehabilitated. That's what I'd rather.
Kelvin?
Well, the thing that most surprised me about JJ is that he's assistant editor of the Daily Express and he lives on a council estate. I think we should have a debate about that, really, first of all. Either they're paying very poorly or there's something going on that I don't really know. Anyway...
Kelvin!
Well, I'm just raising it. Which council is it, by the way?
Hackney.
Oh, right, well, now, everybody on every estate in Hackney is an assistant editor of the Daily Express. Anyway, on the question of that, look, Scotland has a shocking drugs problem. They thought this might be a solution. It is not a solution. The drugs problem is as bad as it was as it was before this was started. Mm-hmm. And Glasgow, some parts of Glasgow are even worse than Hackney. And on that basis...
sorry, if you are from Glasgow, by the way. I'm not responsible for it.
It's
true. Like he's on day release from some kind of facility, this man, tonight. Sorry.
No, I'm right. I'm just saying.
What are you just saying?
I'm just saying, Glasgow, the parts of Scotland, parts of Glasgow are beyond shocking, and this won't have helped. And if you see, it was an LBC investigation, wasn't it? That when they spoke to the residents there was all kinds of defecating and urinating and loads of needles. These people have to live with. Obviously, there's more and more people with drug issues are going to come to this than if they would go to any of the other places which are available. Actually, I don't know what the answer is, but definitely not ruining residential areas for drug addicts is not the answer. It has to be a hospital-related area where they go to. And then, of course, you get the doctors and the nurses with them complaining about druggies walking around. What they need to do is try and deal with whatever the issue is in Scotland, which leads to a lot of drug addicts. I can think what it might be, but there's probably that'll get me banned again, so I don't think I'll bother.
The Scottish... Look, do you see there? I'm tactically intervening. Has anyone got one of those relatives at home? You know when they start, I don't know, you're all together on Christmas Day and they start and you all sit round the table, you all look, then they go on, and then they go on, then they go on, and at some point you're like, right, someone sort out Uncle Bob, please, take him away, take him to the kitchen, go get him another vol-au-vent or something. Well, this is me virtually giving him a vol-au-vent because the Scottish Government's Health Secretary, Neil Gray, he says that he recognises people's concerns, they're addressing them, but they
He doesn't live there, though, does he?
I don't know where he lives.
No, he
How
won't.
do you know where he lives?
He will not live there. I 100% guarantee. In fact, your army of journalists out there, ask them and investigate where that guy, Mr. Gray, lives. He will not be living in that neighbourhood, because were he living in that neighbourhood, that clinic would never have been put there.
Well, he also goes on to say that research and evaluation from similar facilities around the world have found consistent evidence, he reckons, that these rooms do save lives and improve lives, and actually they have a great manner of positive impacts on society.
Well, yeah, they save
I'm going to look
lives.
at you because I don't want him to come back. I dread to think what he's going to pipe back up to that one.
Well, they've got one in Switzerland, in Geneva, one of the richest cities in the world. They've got one of these rooms. Yeah, they save lives because people who overdose in those places then get saved instantly. But if you're going to inject drugs down the local park and you have an overdose, you obviously got less chance of success if you've not got medical people around you. That's not a reason for us to keep on saying to people, oh, you want to do drugs? Come over here into this loveliest council estate and we're going to give you a nice clean room to do it in. No, I don't want it. I don't want it in my neighbourhood or anybody else's. What I want is, as Calvin says, tackle the drug problem. Find out why are people in this area...
Why in Scotland, particularly, is drug taking off the scale? What is it about living in Scotland? Now, I could speculate about that.
Living in Scotland.
I could speculate about that, but that would probably be another
Off-com.
No, that'd be another Off-com. The CEO gets slung out at GB News.
Right, well,
that'd be fantastic.
Let's not get ourselves up the yin-yang with Off-com complaints. How about that? At the end of the day, we are having a laugh and a joke about this. We've got to try and keep our spirits high in this day and age. But I do actually want to say that drug addiction, I just want to be sensible for a second, it is absolutely devastating. If any of you have been exposed to this kind of thing, you will know not only the impact it has on the individual who is the addict, but it doesn't just stop there. Of course not. It affects the effect that it has on the wider family, the loved ones of those drug addicts who will go through so much just horrendous stuff with the addicts. It's just unbelievable. And then, of course, you've got all the communities and everything that you have to face because of this. So it is a really, really serious problem, and that's what makes me kind of be on the fence about the concept of these rooms, because I remember my teenage years, I was exposed to these kind of things, and I lost friends that I cared about, and I saw the impact that hard drugs have, and it's devastating. And actually trialling anything, quite frankly, to try and stop drug addiction can only be a positive
Michelle,
thing.
they've trialled it and it hasn't worked. You've got young kids yourself, so have I. I don't want... This investigation, they went, in under a minute, we discovered 5 dumped needles, as well as what appeared to be human excrement. I don't want my son walking around, running around in our little neighbourhood and falling onto a needle with God knows what else is
But then what I would say to that, whoever's running this facility, what they should be saying is, right, you should have CCTV outside. Who is discarding this needle? You sit down with that user and say, look, you've got 1 strike and you're out. If you do this again, you are now on warning. You can use this facility, you get access to this. If you do this again, you're gone. End of. So it cannot be beyond the wit of man to know who it is that's discarding these drugs and take action.
So that's more money. But now we've got to use more taxpayers' money to put in CCTV.
Yeah, but drug addiction, costs that it has on society is absolutely immense. Yeah. And if anyone's got any other ideas of stopping drug addiction, I'm all ears. Tell me.
Yeah, but well, don't live in Scotland seems to be one of the better ideas.
Right. If you are in Scotland, everybody, I do apologise. We don't all share Kelvin Mackenzie's opinion of the Scots. I can assure you that. I'm going to go to the break. I'm going to give him a massive kick-in during said break, and we'll come back and discuss other matters. The officer that was cleared by a court for killing the criminal Chris Cabba, he's now facing a gross misconduct hearing. What do you think to that? Strong opinions on this one after the break.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, the UK has the warm, sunny weather. There's more rain to come in Spain and Portugal. Fine conditions across much of Italy. A few showers across the eastern Mediterranean. Generally dry for the Canaries, but not particularly warm yet. Wet and windy weather sweeping into Portugal and across mainland Spain, although many of the southern costas of Spain dry and sunny. Certainly plenty of sunshine for Italy, Sardinia and Corsica. A few showers over Cyprus and Turkey. Temperatures will be rising in the Canaries over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello and welcome along to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We're going to see cooler weather drift its way southwards during the next 24 hours. It's already been affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day as a cold front has moved in from the Atlantic. That cold front slowly trundles its way southwards across central parts of the UK through the evening. Always the chance of a shower or thunderstorm across parts of Mid Wales into the Midlands ahead of that cold front. And a marked temperature contrast overnight because of the cooler air arriving from the northwest, but the warmth remaining in the south. In some parts of southern and southeast England, temperatures remaining in the mid-teens, whilst further north across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, we start the day with low to mid-single figures. Nevertheless, for many, it is a dry and bright start to the day. I think a bit more cloud there across southwest England, South Wales compared with the recent days, and always that chance of a shower continuing through Mid Wales and the Midlands. Northern England, Northern Ireland, southern and central Scotland seeing plenty of bright weather first thing. Cloudier skies for northwest Scotland, and we've got these showers moving in from the northwest on a brisk breeze. That breeze making it feel cool through the day, with temperatures back towards average for the time of year. However, for much of England and Wales, after any early showers peter away, actually there's plenty of sunny spells once again. And it's still going to feel relatively warm in the south and southeast. Temperatures into the mid-20s, even 27 Celsius in the far southeast, but back to the mid to high teens elsewhere across the UK. Patchy cloud here and there, not quite as widespread sunshine as we've seen so far this week. And then going into the bank holiday weekend, some heavy showers will affect southern counties of England through Saturday. There'll also be showers drifting in from the North Sea coast to affect the east and north of the UK. And that wind coming in from the North Sea is going to make it feel increasingly cold through Sunday and Monday, but actually there will still be some sunny spells.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 PM every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 PM and 5 AM as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Michelle Dewberry, Dewbs Co. alongside me. If you're just joining us tonight, Kelvin McKenzie, the former editor at The Sun, and JJ Anisonobi, the current assistant editor at the Daily Express. There you go. Round of applause. He is, you're in awe, aren't you, Kelvin McKenzie?
Yeah.
I think that is the best word to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we started this programme tonight with the common sense decision by the FA to stop biological men playing in the women's football category. I've got to say there's quite a lot of support coming through thick and fast from the inbox in support of the FA. Many people questioning that actually why on earth did it take them so long, and lots of people echoing your point, Kelvin, about the fact that the FA should apologise to that young woman that you banned from playing football because said young woman had the audacity to ask, is that a man that I'm playing against? Anyway, I've got to say, I don't really think that that apology is going to be forthcoming anytime soon. Now, other matters we need to discuss tonight. You will all be familiar with the case, I am sure, when it comes to the shooting of the criminal Chris Cabba. If you're not familiar, I don't know where you've been, but let's just remind ourselves, just take a moment to look at the footage. This footage, very widely circulated at the time and beyond. I mean, we've got to cast our minds back there because that was a few years ago now, 2022. The officer was subsequently named. He was then put in front of a court of law, and the court of law essentially cleared him of the charge of effectively murdering Chris Cabba. What's happened now is said officer is going to be subject to a disciplinary proceeding. Many people are saying that that is totally inappropriate. The Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, he is one of the people as well that's leading that charge of saying that decision is wrong and that is deeply disappointed by it. JJ, where are you on this?
Well, armed police are on our streets every day. I'm no fan of Met Police. We know from over the past few years that things have come out about some officers, their views on race, their views on women that are pretty appalling. But when it comes to the armed police, compared to the rest of the world, we have a pretty good record of our officers. And how they don't just go in and discharge their guns. They are apprehending dangerous criminals, violent criminals, every day. As Calvin said earlier, actually, you can go on YouTube. I often watch videos on YouTube of the police going and arresting people for entertainment. This officer, Martin Blake, was cleared in court. He then returned to work, was promoted to inspector. I would presume that this internal trial now common sense will prevail. And there will be no further action taken against him. What this should do for the public who are critical of the police, as I am in most cases, this is nice. It's nice because there's transparency. So anyone who says, well, the court said he didn't do anything wrong, but what do the police say? OK, well, the police can look into it and their independent commission can check it and they can say, actually, we think he acted lawfully, and he says that he felt that his officers were in danger because from the video you see Chris Cabba, who was a violent criminal, ramming the car back and forth. And you'd hope that common sense prevails, and then everyone who has an issue with the decision can stand back and say, well, it was independently investigated and he's been let off.
I'll tell you what I have an issue with. I noticed you just named the man there, and of course he was named by the court, and I thought that was such an appalling thing to name that man. He wasn't found guilty of the crimes that were put to him. In fact, actually, he was found innocent of the crime put to him. I think it was such a scandal, so disgraceful and inappropriate that that man was ever named. He is now hugely at risk and is being found in a court of law to be innocent.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
But you just named him again. I deliberately don't do that.
But I've named him again because he's been named in the public, he's named in court, he's named in the press.
I think that's a ridiculous point, by the way.
What, mine?
Yeah.
Get out, I warned you with the break.
I think it's a poor point. I mean, he appeared in front of the Old Bailey. I mean, and the truth about the matter is that when you appear at the senior court, you are going to be named, and it's always the case, and I'm glad it is, because that's the way justice is seen. So I am pleased he was named.
You wouldn't be pleased if you were the person that was a public servant that was operating in the duties that were requested of you, that absolutely believed believe that you were innocent, that you were told to have a gun for the premises of your job.
The point was that
You
the
wouldn't think it was
CPS
great
had
if you got
decided
named.
that you had done something criminal and that a jury should decide whether you were guilty or not guilty of it. So I'm afraid that I think the argument collapses like that. There is an argument here, though, that the man had been absolutely tortured. He's been tortured, I think it took 3 years of his life, certainly 2.5 years of his life. And finally, he comes free, right? And I love JJ's point that we have armed police and there are bad apples in every police force and in every walk of life. I would even think there might even be presenters out there to whom you wouldn't care to spend an evening with.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's agree with that. But then to say, here, you've had your 3 years, you've got cleared by 12 good men and women and true, right? And now face this, because if that decision went the other way, he would lose his job, and very likely he would lose his pension and other rights that go with it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an absolute scandal that it should happen. And the other thing that puzzles me about this is that the IOPC have acted very quickly. I know another case where they have been investigating officers up north in relation to Hillsborough. Right, to find out whether they were part of a black arts gang which has fed untrue stories to people, including myself.
Oh.
That investigation has been going on for 12 years, and we still don't have a verdict on it. I asked for how that investigation was going only the other day to be told that the woman I was writing to had actually now left the organisation.
Wow.
So that's taken 12 years to get there. This has literally taken about half an hour. Why? What is the difference?
Well, some might suggest, JJ, that one of the differences that there will be a lot of activists who say that the police are, quote, institutionally racist, and that actually people like the IOPC will be aware of those charges, they'll be aware of different reports and investigations or whatever. So they will actually be trying to fend off that criticism, and that's what's speeding up the process. Is that fair or not?
I think it's fair to say that the police feel, today more so than ever, there's lack of trust from the public. Whether it's for decades, black people have been saying we're stopped by the police too often. We're harassed by the police. No one cared about it, really. The mainstream didn't care about it. It was only after Sarah Everard, and then when they did the vigil, and the police were picking up white women and taking them out of the park, they didn't beat those white women when they carried them out. They picked them up and carried them out, and there was uproar about it. And it's the police are monsters. Well, minority communities have been saying that about the police for decades, and it was ignored. Happens to a white woman, and now people are concerned. So because of the negative publicity surrounding the police for the past few years, I think this is why they felt under pressure to try and push this through.
But
and
you
have justice be
yourself
seen.
have said, I've heard you say it loads of times, that you think that the police are institutionally racist, and I've heard you say that you think that the Met should essentially be closed down.
Yeah, I think that should be disbanded and we start again. I think we should be paying our police officers more. I think they should be better vetted and better trained. The current system we have for the police force across the whole country, I think, is far too flawed. So, and I still stand by that.
Can I just say that even tonight there's a story from West Yorkshire Police where they wanted to, where a woman was interviewed and she didn't get the job. So it was decided by the senior leadership team, actually, to scrap these interviews where she didn't get the job and just give her the job anyway, right? And that then led to another 6 people from minority communities being hired. And because they'd done that, they then decided, well, hold on a second, this looks like a white-brown issue. We're going to hire 6 white people. I think the race issue is part of a very difficult conversation in our country. I feel desperately sorry for any white officer walking around London streets tonight. There is always a feeling out there that if they approach somebody and the conversation doesn't go well, they have a problem. And so if you look at the numbers of black prisoners in jails, it's about 14%, which is about 3 or 4 times the size of the whole UK. If you look at it for Muslims, it's about 5 times. It's about 18%, and they're about 3 or 4% of it. There is definitely an issue about how minorities act in relation to criminality. On the one hand, you can say, oh, well, the police or the CPS are tougher on those people. Yeah. Or there is more crime being carried out by people of colour.
Well, stats would suggest that people of colour and people who are white do the same crime. Judges tend to give out people of colour longer time behind jail. Also, with black people...
Hold on. Let me ask you about this, because everyone always says this to me, and I always ask the same question back. When you say stats show that a person, one black person, one white person, same crime, same judge, same day, whatever, different sentences, I would always ask you, has the information actually been looked at to say the black person, the white person, yes, sure, they might both be up there for murder, but when you're looking at the sentence that they got, and someone would suggest the black person got more, presumably because he's black, have you actually taken into account the previous rap sheet? Have you taken into account the point at which they pled guilty? Because both of those things actually impact the sentence given, and no one ever tells me that.
Well, I'd go back to actually is a previous case from about 10 years ago when judges were going the opposite way. It was something that the press called affluenza. White kids who were committing crimes, but they're from good families, were going to court for serious crimes, and the judges, we have a number of these cases where judges were saying, because you're from an affluent background, you don't fully understand the ramifications of what you've done. And actually, I'm told that you're an equestrian and you're potentially going to go to Oxford or Cambridge. So because your future could be ruined from this, we're going to suspend the sentence and you're going to go for free. That's what we, the journalists, called affluenza. So there
how does that answer the question?
Answer the question that there's demonstrable evidence of white people from nice backgrounds, not from cancer estates, being treated differently to black people and brown people. And also, aside from that, we can leave out colour.
With everything else equal, with everything else equal,
and we can actually leave out colour from it as well. We can just go to class, purely from class. People who are from working class backgrounds, low socioeconomic backgrounds...
They probably also end up with better QCs and KCs, don't they? I mean, there is that aspect to it as well. True. And I saw a case the other day, I don't know whether you saw it, that kid who was driving the car erratically. He has a crash. 3 of his mates die in that thing. All he got was 2 years, right? I wonder, actually, taking your argument, had that been some of another colour and of another background, I wonder whether that kid should have got more, by the way.
I think you both make very, very interesting, thought-provoking points. So don't even get me started on the class thing, because when I hear the class thing, what springs to my mind is the horrendous, awful, unimaginable case of Madeleine McCann. I always found myself pondering if Madeleine McCann's family were from a council estate and Madeleine McCann was left alone at the clubhouse, while the parents went to the clubhouse and Madeleine was left in a caravan, what would that conversation have looked like when we talk about class? I've got very strong opinions on that, but they'll have to wait for another day, because after the break, Kneecap, I've never even heard of them until a few weeks ago. Anyway, counter-terrorism police are now investigating them. Let's look at that in 2.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk, and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's News Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs Co. Till 7, Kelvin McKenzie and JJ Anisinobi alongside me. Jack says, surely, Michelle, these drug consumption rooms, it is the responsibility of the facility to safely discard of the needles. Yes, Jack, but obviously this is people that are then going outside of said facility, isn't it, to use, I would imagine. A lot of people are saying, actually, that it was wrong of the officer, it's wrong that the CABA officer is facing this disciplinary. One of my viewers has got in touch and said, Michelle, Freddie has said, Michelle, can people stop saying that CABA wasn't armed? I don't remember saying that.
No.
Did I say that? Did you say that?
Nobody said that.
No. Because, Freddie, you quite right to point out that being armed doesn't necessarily mean that you've got some kind of sawn-off shotgun. If you've got a car and you're using that as a ramming device, and, of course, that is a weapon. So, yeah, I don't think any of us said that on this panel. But, look, have you ever heard of the band, the Irish band Kneecap? I'm not young nor trendy enough to say that I ever previously have. But, of course, we all now know who they are. It's been alleged that they've said all kinds of things, whether it's supporting, expressing support for Hamas and people like that. And then, of course, the thing that's really upset a lot of people is the claims that they actually called for MPs to be killed. Well, anyway, long story short, counter-terrorism police are now involved, looking at some of their material. Is this the right move? Kelvin McKenzie.
Right, well, so they say this stuff because it will garner them publicity, you know, and it's right at the edge and everything. And, of course, there's a price to be paid when you go to the edge. And the price that's being paid now is that the Met are having to go around there and talk to these three dorks.
I've not heard the word dork for ages.
Old school.
I was going to say that. It's quite old school.
Yeah, old school.
Anyway, go on.
Old dork. And it's a shame that important people like the counter-terrorism officers have to be involved in this kind of stuff. What concerns me mainly about this is that they are going to get so much publicity that young people, being what young people are, they're going to be attracted to this band, and it wouldn't surprise me if it didn't sell out concerts that were previously hard to give away the tickets for. And so they will have learned a lesson, and I see one lesson they've learned. They've now apologised to the Cox and the MP's family from Southend, right? And so at least we're beginning to make progress, right? I don't know how I feel about this at all, to be honest. I'm in favour of free speech. This was disgusting. They've now apologised. If this cuts it off, I would be pleased, rather than the idea that they now have to go through the justice system and they'll end up being, given a suspended sentence. And the only good news about that would be that they then couldn't go and parade their wares in America. So that would be a good aspect to it.
So they've got artistic freedom, right? And as you say, Kelvin, they've got freedom of speech. And I feel that everyone should have that. I don't agree with them saying you should go out and kill a Tory MP. I think that's actually disgusting. I don't agree with them being on stage and flying Hezbollah flags either. But it's their freedom of speech. And this channel of all places, GB News, the defenders of freedom of speech, we should be saying, yeah, they can say what they want. We can disagree with them and we can say we don't like it and we think they're disgusting. But ultimately, freedom of speech comes first, doesn't it?
Freedom of speech is freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not free from consequences. So if a man goes on, for example, or if a person goes on the internet and says, I want you to go and sexually abuse children, or sexually abusing children is good, sure, you can say that, but guess what, my friend? You're going to get a knock on the door and hopefully you get your hard drive checked and hopefully you'll be in prison. So yes, of course, I support freedom of speech, but you can't just do what you want and say what you want, free of consequence, if you are suggesting that someone should go and kill somebody else.
But when we had, I don't know, bring up the recent riots, when we had the riots and people are saying go and burn hotels, those people were going to be punished for that. They were saying stuff that was inciting violence and they were right to be put in jail.
Correct, yeah, but
no,
what,
hang on,
30 or 31 months
for
was
Lucy Connolly. You don't support that, surely?
I'm not saying I support 31 months, but I think if either we have freedom of speech in this country and we're allowed to disagree with what people say, or we don't have freedom of speech for anyone and no one can say whatever it is they believe.
Yeah, I think that 31 months is just absolutely awful. And I was looking as well, apparently she was getting refused compassionate leave or whatever the technical term is for that. I think it's a shame. I think it's an absolute shame and a stain on our society that you've locked up that mother in that way for a tweet. I think it's absolutely appalling. One of my viewers has said, Michelle, can you stop talking about Kneecap? Sandra, she says, you're just giving them all so much airtime. Good point, Sandra. So I'm going to move on. I shall move on to... I've just seen an email and I was really desperate to bring it in. Oh, yeah, Adrian. Adrian just got in touch. He's absolutely furious about me. He's calling me lots of names. They're not very nice names, Adrian, I've got to be honest.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, of course, freedom of speech. That's why I'm reading it out.
It must be Simon Jordan.
I know, that's right. I'm reading it out, Adrian. He's livid and says I'm a disgrace for what I've just said about Madeleine McCann. He says it's obscene. I don't think I'm a disgrace whatsoever. Or the other things that you call me, Adrian. What I do believe, and I do believe it, and hopefully we'll never, ever see the horrendous accident, see whether or not I'm right or wrong, but I do believe if a family went to a caravan park and you left your child in the caravan unattended whilst they were tiny little children / babies, and you went and you filled yourself up with cheap cider in the clubhouse and that child ended up not being where you left them, and we don't know the outcome of that. It's a horrendous story. I don't wish this on anybody and my heart breaks for those people as parents. But come on, Adrian, you cannot tell me with a straight face that the the outpouring of everything would be the same as what was the situation for the McCanns. You can have your view, you're entitled to it, but I don't believe it. Anyway, look, that's all we've got time for, ladies and gents. Don't forget, it is, of course, election day today. So if you haven't already been out, I confess I never used to vote, but I do now. So if you haven't already been out, do remember, you've got until 10 o'clock. Just remember your ID. We do live in a democracy, each to your own, how you choose to use your votes, but you have got a few more hours if indeed that is what you want to do. Normal service will be resumed tomorrow. Can't wait for the programme. Can't wait to see what the outcome of voting day has been. But look, that's all we've got time for. Thank you. I've had quite a good laugh today on the programme, I must confess.
Yeah,
anyway,
book me more often then.
Yeah, I hope you two have. You guys have as well. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome along to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We're going to see cooler weather drift its way southwards during the next 24 hours. It's already been affecting Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day as a cold front has moved in from the Atlantic. That cold front slowly trundles its way southwards across central parts of the UK through the evening. Always the chance of a shower or thunderstorm across parts of Mid Wales into the Midlands ahead of that cold front, and a marked temperature contrast overnight because of the cooler air arriving from the northwest, but the warmth remaining in the south. In some parts of southern and southeast England, temperatures remaining in the mid-teens, whilst further north across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland, we start the day with low to mid-single figures. Nevertheless, for many, it is a dry and bright start to the day. I think a bit more cloud there across southwest England, South Wales compared with the recent days, and always that chance of a shower continuing through mid Wales and the Midlands. Northern England, Northern Ireland, southern and central Scotland seeing plenty of bright weather first thing. Cloudier skies for northwest Scotland, and we've got these showers moving in from the northwest on a brisk breeze. That breeze making it feel cool through the day, with temperatures back towards average for the time of year. However, for much of England and Wales, after any early showers peter away, actually there's plenty of sunny spells once again. And it's still going to feel relatively warm in the south and southeast. Temperatures into the mid-20s, even 27 Celsius in the far southeast, but back to the mid to high teens elsewhere across the UK. Patchy cloud here and there, not quite as widespread sunshine as we've seen so far this week. And then going into the bank holiday weekend, some heavy showers will affect southern counties of England through Saturday. There'll also be showers drifting in from the North Sea coast to affect the east and north of the UK. And that wind coming in from the North Sea is going to make it feel increasingly cold through Sunday and Monday, but actually there will still be some sunny spells.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky-roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic flypast.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult